Our next guest is best known as Stacy on the Right. She's a conservative commentator and talk show host. Stacy Washington is also a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. What's going on, Stacy?
Oh my gosh!
Stop!
Okay, I'm back. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Ready?
Let's
Ready?
talk
We're
guns.
good. All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good.
All right. So let's just hit it. Let's hit it. So how did you get to where you are doing what you do? How did you become Stacy on the Right?
Okay, so I was a stay-at-home mom full time.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the kids' school. The first day of our oldest daughter, kindergarten, what's on the desk right up at the front? Diversity committee. Join. We need you. I was like, oh, you need me bad. So I joined that committee. And from there, I started volunteering more and more and more. And I ended up on school board.
Okay.
And then I lost the race that I ran to actually be the full-time school board member. So a friend of mine was like, come to the Arch and talk about, whatever you want for 5 minutes. And so I go there, and it's Senator Roy Blunt, Dana Lash, Gina Loudon, and like every other person you've ever heard of from St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
And I'm up on the stage with them talking about the genocide of abortion and the truth about the Tea Party and all that. And all of a sudden, I'm on the radio once a week, just for like 7 minutes doing commentary. And then a couple years after that, I got my own show on Sunday nights.
Okay.
And last year I got syndicated. But the gun stuff was kind of just a part of that. Like I'm a veteran. My dad's a law enforcement. So I've grown up with my dad's service piece on the dining room table and my mom yelling, "This is good furniture, get this gun," every night. So I was raised around guns, and I shot early, but then when we had kids, I was like, oh, we got to be really careful. And then as the kids got older, I realized these kids don't know anything about firearms. So now they all shoot. I built a custom AR that my gun advertiser actually ordered, and we put it together. I did it myself.
Oh, wow.
And I have concealed carry. My husband concealed carries. The kids are all really good shots. And I really believe that the best way to talk about this and to do this is to actually do it myself, so people know that because I'm a girly chick, if I can shoot guns, if I can carry a big AR-15, which is actually as light as a feather, no recoil, then anybody can, right? Anybody can do this. Little chicks, tall chicks, whatever.
Well, that's the end of the show, guys. Nah, I'm just asking. No, I mean, you said it perfectly. I think that was an amazing recap in terms of just kind of explaining your journey to where you are now, and just the advocacy and everything else that you do now. I think it's freaking awesome, especially on the Second Amendment side of things, because clearly I'm biased in that direction. So now, with respect to that though, since you grew up with a kind of pretty pro Second Amendment background. Outside of that, considering the environment that you grew up in outside of your home, your immediate home, what was the reception to just firearm ownership in general? What was your experience like in that regard?
Well, so here in Missouri, it's very pro 2A, but of course, the major city that we live in the suburbs of, St. Louis, it's very liberal. And so I have friends who are on all parts of that spectrum, friends who would never, like, once they found out that we own guns, their kids have never been back to our house. I'm not sure if I could still call them my friends, but that has happened. And then I've also had girls that I'm in book club with that we go shoot guns. Like, somebody will just text, "On my way to the range." And then you'll see all these texts come back. I'm in. What are you bringing today? So, we all have our little custom ear protection, and it's fun. I think the bigger deal is how often someone will tell me that they heard me somewhere or saw me somewhere, and they're like, "It's so cool that you own guns. I do too. You made me feel like, I'm not the only one." I'm like, "You're not. There's more guns in St. Louis County than probably all of Manhattan. Come on. We're doing it."
Yep. No, absolutely. It's amazing to me how, and I get that a lot too. I get a lot of messages from people, younger people too, who tell me, you made me feel comfortable talking about my passion for firearms, because for so long it's been something that has been considered taboo or vilified, in that you automatically associate. They like crazy and firearms were not mutually exclusive. They were intimately related to each other at all times, and it just wasn't okay. Hell, I went through it even at the beginning of my firearm journey. I hid it for the most part. Till it got to a point where I was just kind of like, man, forget y'all. So, and then I kind of be outwardly expressing it. And, you got the jokes, people they're like, you okay? You're not planning anything. And after a while, it starts to get old. It's just like, come on, stop. Like I'm the same person who I was before. Nothing has changed except I have this passion.
You're actually planning something, aren't you? You're planning on being that one. You're the sheep herder. You're the one who, when the maniac pulls, you put him down, and very few people, if any, are harmed. You're the person who, you might have your firearm in the movie theater, even though the sign said don't bring it in, because that's the place where it's most likely to have something happen is where this sign is located. So the only signs I obey are the federal. Obviously, I don't carry in federal buildings, and the rest of it is at my discretion. And I regularly consult with the firearms training place where I actually got my CCW, just to make sure that I'm well within the bounds of the law. But I feel like even a person who's against guns, if they were to ever have someone save their life with a gun, they change their mind. And they're the first ones to dial 911. And when the police come, they don't carry a smile or an ice cream cone. They don't come in with, like back rubs for the criminals. They come in with a gun or lots of guns, and they take down suspects and criminals with use of force. And so we really need to respect that. We need to be the kind of people who understand that there are bad guys out there. Evil is always going to be there. It's ever present. And it's people like you and I who carry, not so much because we're in the public eye, but because we carry, and millions of other Americans who silently carry without ever killing anyone, without ever accidentally doing anything. And as I did in a video once, my guns. So I went to check on them because I thought maybe they had jumped up and went and assaulted or killed someone. And lo and behold, those suckers were laying right where I left them, right on the table, out in the open.
Pretty lazy.
The dog was home. They were just laying there.
Yeah, and it's funny when we say things like that, because I say it all the time. I have a whole hashtag movement behind it called "Still Waiting," and it's sure, it's a hyperbolic representation of the idea that guns are not human, and it's just communicating that notion that there's this sense that I don't know, there's this lack of accountability and just personal responsibility to a degree when it comes to firearms that people are just not willing to accept. And so they rather project this idea and this notion that firearms are just these deadly creatures that are lifelike and can just come to life and shoot you automatically. That's not the case. And when you understand that you have more control over the firearm than you really think you do, it makes it a lot easier to approach in many ways. And so now let's talk about so the other day I was going through a little short Twitter spat with Shannon Watts. We're like an on again, off again Twitter couple. We go at it sometimes, and then we don't really make up. We just keep going at it, and then kind of step away, and then that kind of nonsense.
It's a tough relationship.
I try to give it my all, and she just won't meet me halfway, and I'm starting. Let me stop.
I recommend your couples therapy, but I mean, you guys can keep fighting. I like the fighting better anyway. So.
But I posted this story about a guy who dealt with 3 intruders with his AR-15 in Oklahoma. Yeah. And I posted the story and I sent it to her. I said, you know what? You say you are for the Second Amendment, but you say that you don't have a problem with the Second Amendment, that you are fine with people owning guns in their homes. So do me a favor. Could you, if you don't mind, this is an exceptional story, could you retweet it for me? She called me. No. She said I was being ghoulish. She said that by me wanting her to retweet the story, I'm inferring from her tweet, but essentially what I got from it was the idea that because I wanted her to retweet this story about a guy who killed 3 people who tried to break into his home, that I was celebrating death, that I was being ghoulish in my fascination with the ability to kill someone. And I'm trying to understand how we've gotten to this point in this country, or at least how some people have gotten to the point where they look at the idea of self-defense and completely vilify it, even more so than the idea of somebody breaking into our sanctuaries, which we call our homes. Yeah. And somehow they're more disturbed about the notion that I or someone else used a gun to defend themselves in their own homes when it was being attacked, versus the people actually doing the attacking in the first place.
I got a problem with that. And I'll tell you why. We went over this story at the dinner table, and we have a son. He's 15 and a half, soon to be 16. I can't believe it. And all the kids, I told you they can shoot, right? But they're also they're astute. They know how to pick out like that logical fallacy that exists for Shannon Watts is that she'll always dial 911. She'll always expect someone to defend her if people are present and if she's ever attacked. And she would always want her house to remain unviolated, never enter her house, never break in. And she certainly wouldn't be in defense of someone who did that to her. But by the same token, she doesn't want us to celebrate the fact that it's not so much that he killed 3 people, it's that his mother is still alive because she was home when they broke in. And they didn't just stop at the door and knock and he shot them down. They busted in the back door of these people's house. He knew they were coming in, and he got an AR-15 and put them down, as he should have. As soon as the feet are over the threshold, down they go. That's my motto. And I tell people regularly, if you're planning on breaking in, this is your choice. My choice is 2A, uninfringed, all day, every room, let's get it on. So don't break in. If you don't want to engage, don't break in.
I think we should put that to music.
I'm serious about that, and the kids are serious about it. I'm serious about it. And in Missouri, we just had an extension of our castle doctrine, which means not only do we have to stand our ground, but we have, if you're at home and you leave your kids at home with a babysitter, the babysitter has the right to defend the castle. And I think that's imperative. We're coddling the wrong people, Colion. We got these people who want to come out and do wrong to us. And when evil knows it can get away with stuff, evil is going to do what it's going to do. But if it knows that we're out there and we're armed and we're ready, and the law's on our side, you can't sue me and take my house if I shoot you. You ain't getting nothing. You're just going to be dead, and your family members are going to be broke like they were before you broke into my home. Then it's all good. I love it. I'm so glad we're doing it. And I want to see that the concealed carry reciprocation across the country. That's my big hope for this year from the president. And I know you guys are advocating for it. I'm just waiting. That's the gift for this year.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, stay right there. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to work on a beat to put to that statement that you had earlier, and then we'll come back and we'll finish the conversation. All right.